Um, okay. Um, I'm not sure exactly how this is gonna go. I'm doing this for two reasons. Um, am I even? One is to distract me. It helps me to try to do something that talking helps. The other thing is one of the things that helped me a lot with my panic attacks was I took notes of how I felt during my panic attacks because every single time you have one, it feels like something you've never felt before. And so when I read them, this is fucking way harder than I expected. When I read them, it helped remind me, like, oh yeah, like it's always gonna feel unfamiliar. Like it always feels like you're whatever you're afraid of is happening. So usually, my panic attacks have to do with my heart. They usually have to do with my heart beating too much. I think I'm having a heart attack. I have a heart condition with Parkinson's white, so obviously that super does not help that situation. And it just ends up spiraling. And then I have chronic panic disorder. So those two things just sort of feed into each other. Now that I have Lyme disease, that also is adding into it. This time, though, it has nothing to do with my heart. I'm having one of the rarer of the two for me, which is this sort of, oh boy, like this like kind of losing touch with reality thing, where it feels like I might not be able to do this. Um, it feels like I can't think correctly. Like I feel far off. So hopefully, other people who have panic attacks might be able to see this and be like, "Oh yeah, like I feel really crazy when it's happening too," and it feels very. I mean, the way I always describe it is it's irrational fear. It's irrational intensity of emotions. Like with depression, it's the same thing. I'm not talking about sadness, but when you're depressed, it's this extremely irrational sadness or indifference towards everything that you're aware of. Like you want to feel better. Like you're not so depressed that you're like you're aware of how silly it feels. This is the same thing. I am aware that I am not dying. I am aware that I'm not going crazy. But in this same way that have you ever had like a really random pain that just like happens in your like leg or something? Like not a cramp, but like just like a really sharp pain that happens in your leg for like maybe like 2 seconds or something. So much so that like you probably don't even think about it that much. Like, oh, why's my leg hurt? Oh, it went away. Oh, it's fine. I describe panic attacks sort of like that, except for it's like an emotional thing. So like my emotions are like, oh no, like this is really really bad. Um, but with emotions, they tend to linger more because you're overthinking them, and that just sort of causes this like riptide of things. You know, anxiety, a panic attack is you go into fight or flight without having like a reason necessarily to go into fight or flight. Some people's panic attacks are actually triggered by something. Usually mine aren't. Today I'm not positive if it is or not. Um, oh boy. Because I was just recently sick, I'm on this new antibiotic, and so I'm like, oh, maybe that has something to do with it, or the fact that it's Christmas Eve, which you know it can be a very emotional time for a lot of people. I know it is for me. I also my mind just keeps going to I had this Vietnamese coffee this morning, which I've never had before, which is like one of the things that this usually does to me when I'm getting panicky, and I think it's very common, is it makes you like a hypochondriac. It makes you overthink everything that's going on, and so I'm definitely there right now. Like my brain just keeps going back to that coffee, and it's like making me very very nauseous. But what I tend to do to get through panic attacks, and this helps me a lot, and I'm not doing it right now because I'm trying to talk to the audience and try to get you up to date on how I'm feeling, um, is really leaning into the panic attack and realizing. I think we always want some sort of cure. Like we go to the doctor and we expect them to heal whatever is wrong with us. But I think sometimes with panic attacks and some levels of depression and stuff like that, or schizophrenia, or any sort of like mental disorder that is something you can't really get in there and touch too well. It's I kind of tend to treat it as like, okay, well if I have my leg chopped off, they're not just gonna put my leg back on. I'm not all of a sudden they're just you know what I mean? Like you don't get your leg back. So now you're there, and you just have to treat the difficulty of dealing with that. So like the pain, the weird sensations that it has. The good thing about panic attacks is you do get your leg back at the end. But while you're going through it, you're unreachable. Like I feel unconsolable. No one could say anything to me, including myself, that's gonna make me feel better. I just have to sort of ride this out. And for me, I tend to have to move around a lot, which now that I'm thinking about it, maybe sitting down and filming this wasn't the best idea. I just remember last time I had a panic attack. Not the last time, but I had a panic attack not too long ago. And I went on live on Instagram, and it helped a lot with dealing with it because it was the distraction. Moving and talking a lot it helps. I just gotta catch myself for a second. My panic attacks tend to last a long time. I know sometimes it's like 10 to 15 minutes. I've had some that last like into the next day. Um, I'm on sertraline for my chronic panic disorder, and that's helped a ton. Last time I was on this medicine, I was on it for 2 years, and I only had 2 or 3 panic attacks that sneak through. This is the first panic attack that I've had while on sertraline this round, and I've been on it for about like a month and a half, 2 months now. Um, Like I'm like my real hope like in making this video is someone's having a panic attack because whenever I have one I go on YouTube and I just watch a bunch of stuff that it helps calm me down and they're having a panic attack and watching me and being like, "Oh yeah, like that's right. Like you do just have to wait it out. This person's also going through it no matter how new and extremely intense this feels, no matter how convinced I am that I'm dying or that I'm going crazy or that something is extremely wrong, because this one's starting to feel a little bit more like I just feel like something's really wrong. Like it's like my entire life is like imploding, which ironically, if my entire life was imploding and everything was like falling apart for me, which it's not, I feel like I would not feel as intensely as I do now. I feel like I would be like, okay, time, we just got to build again. But right now, I'm like really feeling it. Like I'm like really in the trenches for a second. Hold on. It's surreal because my heart is normal. Like my heart, I mean, it's beating faster, but it's not a regular heartbeat like it normally is. I'm fine. I just gotta move. Give me a second. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. I don't have the chat open at all. I'm not reading any comments, so I don't know if anyone's saying anything. My apologies if I'm not responding to anything. Um, hold on. Let me get a train of thought. You get these islands of calmness every once in a while, where you start to feel like you're coming down. And it's like okay, and I use these because for me usually it's very much up and down. I use these to not necessarily expect it to be better because sometimes that makes it worse. I just use it as like okay, here's a checkpoint. Let's just enjoy it. Getting back to normal. Starting to feel a little normal right now. I've started following this YouTube channel where it was someone who suffered from the exact thing that I have, the chronic panic disorder. So there's no real rhyme or reason why we get them. And I've mentioned this before. I tend to have them on good days. I tend to get panic attacks when things are particularly going well. Today, actually wasn't particularly a great day, but it's Christmas Eve. I went out with Victor, and we were gonna meet up with Ariana, but I actually texted her and told her not to come because it was like a little drizzly. But we went to this brand new skate park, and Kenny was there as well. And my Achilles tendon got pulled yesterday a little bit, and the day before because I've been trying to like skate faster, so I've been pushing a lot more, and I think it kind of messed it up. And I think that kind of like bummed me out a little bit, like oh I can't skate today, and I'm at this new park. And then I started like it just popped in my head like did I take my medicine? Did I take my medicine like yesterday? Did I mess up my medicine? And then I started feeling myself be really irrational with that thought. and it started becoming kind of this abstract feeling instead of a thought about medicine. It became a feeling about medicine. I know that doesn't make any sense, but it became an emotion separate from the reality of maybe missing my medicine. I know I didn't miss my medicine. I'm a positive I didn't, but I have this feeling about it. And then I felt that starting to pull me into a panic attack. And so I drove home, and it started getting a little bit better on the drive home. But I went and took a shower. And then in the shower, it started getting way worse. So I had to get out of the shower. And I thought, okay, I'm in my house, it's a comfortable place for me to be. Let's try to do this live thing now, because I wanted to do this before. I just never been able to get down and like sit down and try to film myself have a panic attack. But yeah, so anyways, yeah, I was following this guy, and he's the person who said you need to really like lean into it, and it seemed like such terrible advice, like to sort of put your feelers out when you're having a panic attack and try to feel everything that's happening, because I'm like, wouldn't that make it worse? But I think when you try to resist it and you try to convince yourself that things are going to be okay, it creates this extreme contrast of how you remember feeling normal and how abstractly uncomfortable you feel right now. And it exaggerates, I think, the fear of everything. Whereas when you lean into it, it's almost like making yourself watch that scary scene in a movie that you looked away at. And then when you actually see it, like in that episode of Doug, you see the zipper in the back of the monster, and you're like, oh, it's actually not that scary. To where, like, I am feeling all the same intense emotions as a panic attack as I normally do. Just now, it's now that I'm, like, feeling around or whatever and, like, trying to find all the corners, it's nothing startling me, nothing surprising me. I'm not like, oh, yeah, like, feel better, and then you get hit with the wave. It's more like, okay, I'm touching everything. I'm looking at all the fear that I'm feeling. I'm feeling all the irrationality. I'm feeling how distant I feel from myself. That's a big thing, is I feel like I can't reach myself right now. Like I feel like I can't have a conversation with my subconscious to like try to deal with this. It's very much like it's just doing its own thing. But now that I'm feeling that, it's kind of like it makes it, in my opinion, for me, it makes it easier to deal with and easier to ride out. Why is that bothering me? It's just Dale's moving around next door, and I'm like, it's like scare. It's like scaring me. It's not scary. Um, if this continues, I will go to the hospital, but I probably won't go inside. And I'm not gonna go. I'm not going to the hospital like I'm giving up, like, oh, like stop fighting the panic attack. It's more like I know that it brings me comfort. It helps a little bit. And if you're having a panic attack and there's something that can help a little bit, by all means, try to do those things. It helps me to like have a panic attack in the hospital parking lot, because then I'm just a hop, skip, and jump away from getting medical help that I know I don't need. I'm 100% positive I am not dying right now. I'm positive I don't have schizophrenia. I'm not having a heart attack. Maybe I have schizophrenia. I don't know. I don't think I have schizophrenia. Water is a big one for me too. Like water makes me, it's like a medicine in my head when I have panic attacks, because I'm always like, it makes me, when I have panic attacks, I overthink all the unhealthy things that I've ever eaten in my entire life. And I had a lot of chocolate. I had pizza the other day. And even though I've been trying to eat healthier, it almost makes me more hyperfixate on the bad stuff that I ate. And so, like, yeah, I had a donut this morning and I had a Vietnamese coffee. And I'm like, oh, that's so bad for me. Like, my body's fighting it. And I'm like, oh, but water's good for you, so I'll drink that, and that'll... It's crazy realizing how, like, dumb you are. Like I'm fully aware of how silly the logic is, but it if it works, it works. Like, it's like an ignorance is bliss thing, even though you're aware of the ignorance. I don't know. Oh boy, that was like a nice little break for a second. I'm feeling it feels like it's starting to ramp back up again. Um, I think I'm gonna go for a walk. I don't think I said any of the things that I wanted to say. I don't even know what I wanted to say. I just feel like I didn't say anything I wanted to say, but I'm glad that I filmed this. If you're having a panic attack, a little bit of advice, try to lean into it. That helps me. That helped me a ton. Getting on an SSRI has also helped me a lot. I was getting panic attacks every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. So this is definitely, yeah, definitely helped a lot. Move if you need to move. And this is probably the end of the stream. I just know walking is going to make me feel better. Google stuff too. Like, ChatGPT's been definitely a buddy of mine. Like, just asking it questions about panic attacks, which is what I was doing right before I got on here. I got out of the shower and I ran over to ChatGPT. Yeah, I don't know. I can't talk anymore. I gotta go. Okay. Goodbye. Hope you had a great time.